I got the new OpenAI O1 model to build a simple game of Pong in less than 12 seconds. For reference, I am in fact doing a master's video design game course on Unity at Georgia Tech, where the first simple game I made was Rollerball, and you can kind of roll it around to get points. That took me over 4 hours to make. Without further ado, let's step into the numbers. OpenAI released a bunch of graphs, and in areas like competitive code, science, and math, we see a significant improvement. Basically, it's really good. A lot of the reasoning exams like the LSATs, where GPT-4 really struggled in math, in law, in science, O1 is performing much better. I'm not super familiar with the American Invitational Mathematics Examination, AIME, but O1 preview scored 83%, which is a dramatic leap from GPT-4's 13%. In addition to that, in Codeforce's, O1 preview ranks in the 89th percentile, which highlights its ability to handle multi-step workflows and debug complex code more efficiently. Finally, in STEM-related subjects, O1 models demonstrated advanced reasoning skills, making them excellent tools for researchers, students, and developers who require sort of these sophisticated, more longer-term problem-solving capabilities. Now, in that group, this does raise a really interesting question, for me at least, which is if everyone now basically has a almost PhD level personal assistant in their pocket, how do we stop grade inflation and using ChatGPT to do every single assignment as an undergrad student? Honestly, to me, it seems like we're finally at a point where we need new metrics to measure students beyond just grading assignments. Grading assignments used to be maybe the simplest way to measure people and the most equitable way. But now, I wish I was a student because I'd probably be in med school by now. All the assignments that I couldn't do in the past, I could just use ChatGPT now to help me with it. As to the numbers, it seems like the main difference compared to GPT-4 that is being mentioned by OpenAI is the idea of chain of thought. This is shown as a ChatGPT Plus user when you use O1 Preview. You can essentially see the chain of thought that the AI is going through and is reasoning in order to get its answer. Similar to how a human may think for a long time before responding to a difficult question, O1 uses a chain of thought when attempting to solve a problem. Through reinforcement learning, O1 learns to hone its chain of thought and refine the strategy it uses. It learns to recognize and correct its mistakes. It learns to break down tricky steps into simple ones. It learns to try a different approach when the current one isn't working. This process dramatically increases the model's ability to reason. Beyond that, they have released some articles about the reinforcement learning and the idea behind it, and some people have talked about it in communities as well. Seems like they're not being super open about the model because it's still relatively similar to GPT-4, but it does seem really the quantum leap is in sort of how it's using reinforcement learning here. So now that we've covered the numbers as well as the model, I think the most important question now is what we as an audience can really use this model for. As a professional software engineer, I don't know how different it's going to be from GPT-4. Of course, it's super interesting that now it can make simple games and it can do longer lines of code, but you're still kind of doing babysitting where you're essentially on your IDE doing some bigger project, and then maybe for some smaller components is where the AI, GPT-4, can sort of review your code, help you write some tests, or also help you figure out some of these smaller encapsulated functions. So in that aspect, even though there is a quantum leap for it to be able to solve problems, I'm not necessarily sure how much it's going to change the workflow of professional software engineers. Now, I can't say the same thing for researchers and other professionals, but at least for me, that's the current way I feel about this particular progression. The thing that I think would be, for me, a huge quantum leap in the future is if I could give some sort of instruction to a future AI, and the AI would essentially make that particular software and then also be able to iterate based on real life feedback from users. And then by the time that I get the answer back from the AI, it would have already had a couple of iterations and give us a reasoning and metrics for why certain features are the way it is. That's still very far away from where we are today. However, when a lot of these things come out, I typically like to zoom back out and think about the progression we've made thus far. And Max Tegmark from his book Life 3.0, I feel like gives a really nice figure to show us how much AI has progressed. So essentially in this figure, the ocean is supposed to be AI, and the land is supposed to represent things that humans are still better at that AI cannot do. And as the ocean level rises, it starts to cover more of those things that humans previously could do that AI couldn't. Zooming back out, AI has definitely still improved at an incredibly rapid pace. Whether this is sustainable without a huge development in models, we'll have to see. But for now, it's super interesting to see the developments that O1 has made.